Hello everyone. Sorry if this is a little fuzzy. But I'm Ramirez with Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts, and today I just want to talk a little bit about sword maintenance, particularly with steel swords. Today, I realized after practice, I actually cut my thumb testing out whether or not the swords needed some maintenance. And in particular, this side sword, I was running my thumb just across it and I could feel it right there. I caught my thumb and it actually cut me open. And that's the thing, when swords are not properly maintained, when they make contact, they'll get little dents, and those dents will raise up some burrs. So, what we really want to do to maintain our weapons is make sure they get regular maintenance. For me, regular maintenance means once a week. Um, Between the different practices, I need to make sure that the equipment stays in good condition. And I would encourage people who practice, even if it's just once a week, if it's multiple times a week, definitely at least once a week. At the end of all your practices, before the next week, you should do basic sword maintenance. And there are some videos on this, but not nearly enough in my opinion, so I figured it won't hurt us to have one more sword maintenance video out there. So before I get started, and I will kind of demonstrate and go through my process, I wanted to go through some of the materials that I use in my sword maintenance. So it's not complicated. This is all stuff you can get easily. First thing is just a sandpaper block. You can actually use actual sandpaper. I find the block a little easier to use. So it's kind of like a sponge with various grits of sandpaper on the side. It's normally found in the paint section of your hardware store. It could also be in a sanding section as well. Next up, I have a green scrubby. These are the Scotch-Brite green scrubbies, but any type of scrubby type sponge will do. Next, I use Ballistol. It's kind of a gun cleaner and lubricant because, well, I'm in the United States. But you could also use it. It's also popular in England. If you don't have this, you can get WD-40, just some type of basically a steel protectant and lubricant. That's basically what this is. And lastly is a paper towel. I happen to personally like the blue shop towels only because they're a little sturdier than regular paper towels. Regular paper towels, if there's a burr or something, it'll catch, but it'll still work fine because this is like at the end of what we're doing. But as I said, personally, I like the blue shop towels. If you have access to them in your local store or your local AutoZone, auto parts place, very easy to pick these up. So let's go through the process. Now normally, one of the ways I test and how I cut my thumb is very, very lightly run your finger along the blade. If you can feel a burr, I can feel it's right there. I'm not going to cut myself again. Very, very light with the finger. Don't press down or you'll cut your thumb like I did. And what I want to do first, I want to take my sanding block, because that's the roughest, and just kind of run it back and forth. And I tried to do it on 4 angles. So if you were to think of it as almost like a diamond cross section, I'm going to get this angle, so I'm getting both sides of this blade. Then I'll turn it around, same idea. I want to sand this angle and this angle. And I'll just kind of run it back and forth, move it up the blade, move it down the blade. Idea is pretty straightforward. I want to make sure that this takes care of the kind of big burrs. I don't have to put a ton of pressure on it, but I want some. In some cases, I will put the blade down on the ground, get a hold of it, and just really kind of give it a scrub. One angle, then the other angle of one of the blades. And then I'll turn it around to the other side of the blade. Once again, I'm doing this at about a 45-degree angle because that's where your burrs are going to occur. And if you really want to take them out, I want to really make sure to get that center where that one burr was. And once again, I've just turned the blade, so now it's on the other 45-degree angle to the blade. So in theory, if this was a sanding belt, I'd be sharpening this, but with just a sanding block, I'm just kind of deburring it. After I do that, I'm going to just run my finger again to see if that burr has kind of calmed down a little bit. And it does seem to have. I can still feel where it was. So I'm going to hit that area in particular, just a little more than I would normally. Bring that up to the camera. So yeah, it's right about here. And all I'm doing is giving that a little rub down, just to make sure that that burr is not as pronounced. You'll notice that you are taking off some material. You'll notice your fingers will start to get dark. And I'm going to go to my green scrubby. This isn't going to take out those really big burrs, but it is going to help smooth out some of the other dings in there. Once again, just bring that all the way up, all the way down. Turn it so I like to get both 45-degree angles at once, so I have one on one side, smoothing it. Then I'll turn the blade, go back. And by the time I'm done with this, and as I said, it doesn't take very long, which is good because I have a lot of steel swords to clean. I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 today that I guess I used over the week. I've been doing some rapier combat and some side sword. When I'm done with those 2 steps, I should be able to run my finger fairly easily on the blade, and I really shouldn't notice any burrs. If I did, I would go back and repeat that process. This is actually pretty good. So you can see if you do the maintenance regularly, you won't develop really deep burrs and then have bigger problems later on. The key to that is making sure you do it regularly. Don't just wait until 6, 8 months of practice and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is a saw blade waiting to happen. So this is one of my feathers. I can feel they got one burr there. It's actually not too bad, but once again, regular maintenance will go a long way. You'll notice that I did mention the ballistol. I'll get to that in a moment once I've kind of given this just a little bit of a cleanup. The idea is even dings from earlier practices, this will just help to work them out. And that's really what I want to do. So I'm going to go to the other side, 45-degree angle. It really isn't the case a lot of times with this feather, but it would be worthwhile if the ring guards or anything had some burring, like there's just some light burring on that quillin. So I will go ahead and give the quillin there just a little brush up here. And if you do notice some dings and burrs in there, that's a good time to hit this up. It's also good if you do practice outdoors and you're not a big fan of having rust on your blades. I'm certainly not. To go ahead and do this process to kind of loosen up any potential rust to take that off of your blades. So once again, now I'm going with that green scrubby again. Just kind of smooth out the work. I find the sanding block is a little rougher. And the same thing, I'm going to do that with the main part of the blade, 45 degrees from the edges. And I'm going to turn it and get those other 245 degrees front and back. And hopefully with a couple of quick movements, I should have nice and smooth blade. And those quillins are a lot better. And now that I've done both of the swords themselves, given them good deburring, I'm going to take my cloth and I'm going to take my ballistol. This has a very strong smell. Other people have already commented in other maintenance videos, this is in a well ventilated area. After a while you do get used to the smell, but you know, probably not the best thing in the world to do it in a non-ventilated room, which currently this is. I may open a window afterwards, but I'm just going to spray a little on there. It doesn't have to be a lot, it's just a little bit. It comes, it foams out, and that'll just be a nice layer of oil. And what that does is it helps protect the blades. So once again, we'll go to that side sword. Just, you know, light coat of oil. And if you want to put it on the rest of, like in this case, the hilts, I can do that as well. I hit up the pommel. This sword has seen a lot of action over the years. And we'll go ahead and put that down. And we'll grab our long sword. And if I want, you know, you'll see some of the, not necessarily dirt, but it will pick up some of the metal that's been shaved off the blade and dirt. So if I want to, I can pick a fresh part of the rag and I'll go ahead, give it another little spritz of oil. Usually I clean about 2 or 3 blades with 1 spritz of oil because you don't really need to use a lot. But I do like to have that out there. And once again, I'm just giving it a light coat of oil. In this case, we did work on the guard, and so let me give that a little clean as well. And once again, that light coat of oil will protect it. It'll help, especially as I said, if you're outdoors, anywhere with moisture. You may want to make sure you're helping protect it from the elements. Never a bad idea. And that's it. That's basic steel sword maintenance. Once again, my name is Ramirez. I'm with Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts. These tools, as I said, I think, you know, a pack of like 4 of these is like $2 or $3. I think this is maybe $2. I think probably the most expensive thing is the balisol, and I think on Amazon you can get like 2 packs of the 2-pack of these for, I think, like $10 or $15. You can go, this is actually what Purple Heart Armory sells you, but in all honesty, their sword cleaning kit costs way more than just a few simple things that you could just as easily get either at your local hardware store, Walmart, and you pay a lot less for it. As I said, the balisol, probably not at all places, but you can get this on Amazon. You can get it online fairly easily. And that's it. That's just a quick sword maintenance video. As I said, I suggest you do your sword maintenance for about, once every week. Once again, when you're done with your practices. I still have 4 other blades that do need cleaning, but I think this video is long enough. So I hope you are having a good time sparring, learning your HEMA, and hopefully this was helpful to those of you who are looking at your blades going, they're a little rusty. If they are rusty, you'll basically be doing a lot more probably with the balisol or WD-40, and a green scrubby will help to take off some surface rust. But if you do this regularly, you shouldn't have that happening, and your blades will be safe for sparring for many, many years, and that's what we'd like to see. So thank you very much for watching this video, and keep sparring. Apparently my